Despite his reluctance, the agreement was signed, and Han Chong had to brace himself to fulfill it. He went to Hong Xia's house carrying flour and vegetables, and was stung by the sight that met him at the door. A widow and her children living in abject poverty. Even the corn buns they ate were infested with maggots. Compassion made it impossible for him to stand idly by. He snatched the corn buns and threw them away, then silently picked up an axe to chop wood and start a fire, cooking a decent meal for the mother and children. The maggot-ridden corn buns in Hong Xia's home represented despair and the struggle for mere survival, while the fresh vegetables and flour Han Chong brought signified an improvement in life. A life with dignity. This change in food vividly reflects the turning point in Hong Xia's destiny. Han Chong's father urged him to borrow money from the widow Qin Hua, since he was the one who caused this mess. Unexpectedly, Qin Hua, who used to flirt with him incessantly, turned her back on him the moment money was mentioned.
Stop lusting after a salon. Keep your mind in your pants. Get out.
Not only did she shirk all responsibility, but she even splashed a basin of dirty laundry water right in Han Chong's face. She humiliated him with the most biting words. Fuming with anger from his encounter with Qin Hua, Han Chong ground tofu in silence as if trying to grind away his frustration. Hong Xiaye clumsily tried to help, but was chased in circles by the donkey. Her disheveled yet comical appearance made Han Chong burst into laughter. He stepped out and took a serious look at this woman for the first time. He realized then just how beautiful she actually was. This is a deeply warm and pivotal scene in the movie. The stone mill turns day after day, heavy and monotonous, much like the trapped fate of the mountain people. It symbolizes how in a life of suffering, two people can share the burden and find a new rhythm and hope together. From that day on, Han Chong was no longer just passively fulfilling an agreement. Began to willingly shoulder this responsibility, repairing the house, making furniture, and crafting a rattle for the baby. He used his actions to slowly bring warmth to this broken family. Hong Xiaye responded in her own way, mending Han Chong's clothes and preparing meals for him. While she was mending clothes one day, Han Chong noticed a persistent bruise on her arm, a lingering mark of the abuse inflicted by La Hong. He didn't ask questions, he just silently took out the family's badger oil. He rubbed it warm in his palms and gently applied it for her. This tender gesture touched the softest part of Hong Xia's heart. This segment is the core of the film's emotional build-up. The director uses mundane details of daily life to show the gradual progression of feelings between Han Chong and Hong Xia. This bond wasn't built on romantic gestures, but on the realities of daily life and the mutual support found in simple meals and shared moments. Han Chong's transformation is particularly pivotal. He evolved from a young man seeking superficial thrills,
both Huanzi and I belong to you,
into a responsible man who knows how to care for others. Under Han Chong's care, Hong Xia also transformed from a numb, guarded victim who slowly began to open up, reclaiming her smile and her hope for the future. Detail of the badger oil is used cleverly. The badger was the cause of Han Chong's trouble. Yet, the badger oil becomes the remedy that heals Hong Xia's scars, symbolizing Han Chong's efforts to atone for his mistake through action and provide Hong Xia with genuine care. One day, an opera troupe arrives in the village. Han Chong and Hong Xia sit together in the crowd, but the lively gongs, drums, and flashing lights on the stage trigger painful memories buried deep within Hong Xia's heart. It turns out she was not born mute. She was a well-bred daughter of a wealthy family skilled in all the scholarly arts. However, during a lantern festival, she became separated from her grandmother, who was captivated by the show. She was kidnapped by human traffickers and sold to the brutal Ahong as a child bride. Even more horrifyingly, she overheard a conversation between Ahong and his mother. Learning that Ahong had already beaten a previous child bride to death.
What did you just hear?
I heard your mother say that you killed someone.
After she was caught eavesdropping to ensure her eternal silence, La Hong cruelly pulled out her teeth with iron tongs and threatened her, claiming he would kill her if she ever uttered another word. The immense fear and trauma rendered her mute from that day on, turning her into a mute living under the shadow of constant abuse. This flashback finally helps us understand the root of all her previous abnormal behavior. To her, La Hong's death was not a loss, but a liberation, the closing of the gates of hell, using an extremely restrained approach. The film pieces together Hong Xia's past through fragmented flashbacks. A well-educated girl from a wealthy family was abducted by traffickers at a lantern festival, falling into an abyss from then on. This sequence may only last a few minutes on screen, but it is a microcosm of the lives of countless abducted women in reality. In my view, the cruelest yet most brilliant aspect of Mountain Cry is that it doesn't focus on the moment of abduction, but rather meticulously shows us the long, desperate years that followed, and how a living human being was completely instrumentalized and dehumanized. However, The news that Le Hong was a murderer reached the village cadres. They had initially concealed the death to avoid trouble, and now that Le Hong's true identity is exposed, they could be held liable for harboring a criminal. To protect themselves, the village cadres planned to quietly send Hongxia and her children away deceptive enough that even if the police arrived, there would be no evidence or witnesses. The widow Jinhua overheard their decision. She immediately spread the news throughout the village, adding her own exaggerations. Instigated by Qinhua, a group of villagers surrounded Han Chong and Hongxia, clamoring to drive the mother and her children out of the village. The selfishness and indifference of human nature were laid bare at this moment. Facing the entire village's accusations and pressure, Han Chong stepped forward, shielding Hongxia behind him.
I don't agree. La Hong forced her to live as a fugitive. Is that a fall?
But his defense fell on deaf ears against the weight of collective interest. Han Chong's father, who had been silent, said something that surprised everyone.
Han Chong, you'd better think this through. Whose side are you really on?
It's not your place to lecture my son.
A trace of pride and support flickered in his father's eyes. With his father's approval, Han Chong stood with a straighter back.
Let her stay. I'm going to turn myself in. Where is she supposed to go now? How is she supposed to survive? I'm the one who blew him up and the responsibility. I'll take it all myself. I won't involve anyone else in the village. I, Han Chong, killed Hongxia's husband. According to the agreement, I should provide for her. But now, I want to marry her. I want her to be my woman.
Everyone was stunned. They couldn't understand why Han Chong would, for a mute woman of unknown origin, throw his entire life away. This is the highlight for Han Chong's character completing his character arc. He transformed from a reckless rogue who only chased after widows to a man who dares to stand against the whole world for love and justice. His words were not just a tender confession to Hongxia, but a powerful strike against the collective cowardice and selfishness of the villagers.